spoilerios about spoilerios. Let's roll.
Hello, I'm Sean Baker. Welcome to another edition of Evolution of the Arm. So it's Monday the 7th of August. Episode 13 aired last night. I've watched it twice. By far the most frustrating episode. Not bad, frustrating. I think it will be beloved eventually when all is said and done. But right now, to be this close to the end and feel like there's not been any movement is a little tough. But let's get into it, because it's still Twin Peaks, so it's still great. We begin with the Mitchum brothers and Dougie. It's the end of their all-night party. Conga line into the insurance office to talk to Bushnell. I think Dougie, or Coop as Dougie, is going to be gone next episode. I just have a feeling. Anthony tries to poison him, confesses. It's another one of these things where everything works out as Dougie does basically nothing. It's a little bit comical, a little bit. Bad Coop arrives in Montana in the monster truck that Hutch set him up with. He squares off with Ray's boss, Renzo, big dude. They have an arm wrestling match, which was bizarre. Bad Coop destroys him, literally. And then his cronies, of which there are many, basically feed him Ray. So now Bad Coop has business with Ray. He wants to know where Philip Jeffries is. He wants to know the coordinates. Ray remains pretty staunchly, fuck you. Good for him. He ends up showing Cooper that he has the ring and that Jeffries told him to put it on Cooper after he killed him. Cooper tells Ray to put it on and then kills him after he gets what he wants. And we see that although Ray's body remains in that warehouse, it also is transported to the Red Room. I don't know if that's a doppelganger. I don't know if he's dead. It was a great scene. One of the better scenes in the episode, or at least one of the ones that felt like it had some gravity to it as far as the overall continuity is concerned. We've got Bad Coop, Ray on the floor, dead Renzo, and all of Renzo's former thugs are watching this on this giant monitor that we saw earlier. It almost looks like a bunch of thugs in an art gallery looking at a painting of this. It was kind of funny. But we see Richard Horn come up through the crowd of thugs and stand up front and stare intently at Bad Coop and what's going on. And it made me think, you know, in episode 6, when Richard is with Red, Red does that weird magic trick. Later in that episode, Richard says fucking magic. So he's clearly familiar with some of this. Now, we don't know to what degree. Richard's more involved in the seedy underbelly than I thought that he was going to be. I was very surprised to see him there. And I got to say, the way he was looking at Bad Coop on that screen made me think even more that there may be some credence to the idea that Bad Coop sired him. As Bad Coop exits, he walks towards the camera and looks up, and there's a moment that looks very much like the scene in Fire Walk With Me in Philadelphia where Cooper is going from monitor to camera, and then you see him kind of looking up at that angle. And also, in I forget which episode this season, there's the scene with the warden and the Mr. Strawberry, and Cooper does the weird thing with the phone, all the lights go haywire. But there's a moment where he's looking into the camera like that as well. It's kind of a triptych now of this image. From there we go to the Double R, nice iconic shot of the sign with the mountains. I was just there, it was awesome. Great to see Ed and Bobby and the camaraderie that's going on. You know, no more lights out, Mr. Monkey Wrench. Bobby seems like he's in the fold as in the Bookhouse Boys. I'll go back to that in a little bit. I don't know, this thing with Ed and Norma is interesting. You know, he says there's nothing going on there to Bobby because Bobby's afraid he's interrupting something romantic. Norma is clearly kind of putting the screws to Ed with this new beau, this Walter guy that's helping her with the franchising of the Double R. Likewise, almost concurrently, Nadine is having this kind of energetic flirtation with Dr. Jacoby, and it makes me feel like maybe Ed messed it up with both women and now he's alone. The other thing is I think maybe something's weighing heavily on Ed's conscience, and it could very well be that he is one of the Bookhouse Boys and he would know what's going on. My friend Mr. Brown contacted me today and mentioned, you know, well, surely they'd be on the same page, the Bookhouse Boys and Hawk, so what aren't we seeing? So I enjoyed that scene. We go to Sarah Palmer drinking and just watching this bizarre boxing loop. I loved it. I mean, it was just so strange. There's obviously the Bushnell Mullins boxing poster, now this boxing. I don't know if that has something to do. Sarah Palmer, though, it's interesting. I thought, you know, last episode I came away with this idea that there is somebody else in her head and that maybe she has been strange or special in a way for a long time. And I drew the comparison, it might be the girl that the frog roach crawled into her mouth in episode 8. And I was thinking about it again. So in the original series, there's a moment where Sarah Palmer is drugged and she looks up in the living room and sees this white horse, right? In episode 8, shortly after the frog roach crawls into that girl's mouth, then we get the woodsman and he walks off into the darkness of the dunes and you hear a horse. That is enough for me to go and just put my money on the fact that the frog roach girl is Sarah Palmer. The horse being in both places there, I feel like that is a direct passage from one to the other. Audrey and Charlie picks up right where the other scene left off last episode, and Audrey is clearly not herself. Kirsten pointed this out repeatedly after the last episode. Theorized she may be in a coma. Another theory that I really like is that she's in an asylum and that Charlie isn't her husband, but he's a doctor.
Well, I'm not sure who I am, but I'm not me.
This is Existentialism 101.
Charlie regards Audrey in a way that thwarts her delusion. He's got the air of somebody trying to force a self-revelation. We go from there to James at the Roadhouse, and it occurred to me after the scene with Kirsten Hayward being shacked up with Steven, the douchebag junkie, and herself probably a junkie. And I mentioned that, and Doc Hayward's kind of defeated air when Sheriff Truman talked to him. I think Donna died in that motorcycle accident. I spoke to my friend Mr. Brown about this today. We were kind of theorizing on this. I think she's dead, and I think that would be a good catalyst to drive that nice family unit of the Haywards into these splintered dregs. I hate to see it happen, but there's a poetry there, and I think that's probably what's going on. There was an air of sadness, and I gotta say, I've always made fun of the Just You and I song, but I really enjoyed seeing it. Maybe it was nostalgia, maybe, I don't know, but it was cool, and it was interesting to see the same guy that introduced Nine Inch Nails and how proud the Roadhouse was to present them to be just as proud of James Hurley. So that was kind of cool. Last thing, Big Ed sitting there eating some soup, staring out the window of the gas farm at the gas pumps. Reminds me a lot of the gas pumps in episode 8 where we first see the sped up woodsman. And then he lights a match and burns a piece of paper. A note? Maybe. Or fire walk with me? Hopefully. We're going to find out next week. See you in the trees.